Welcome everyone to the All Games New and Old Gaming Federation. Tonight, we have an action-packed night as David and Hillary review Sakura Arms. But before we get to that, the Meeple Man Sandy Rabbit has something to say about it. He is backstage with Vicious Trisha. Take it away, Trisha.
Thanks, Vic. Meeple Man, last time I tried to interview you, Dice Diego came out and said you couldn't make it because you couldn't cut it. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, Trisha, that's quite a question, but I got a question for you. Yes, I do. What do you not see on the Meeple Man's wrists?
A watch?
That's right, Trisha. You don't see a watch because the Meeple Man doesn't have time to talk about garbage. Yeah, what the Meeple Man does have time to talk about is Sakura Arms from Level 99 Games. Yeah, you know, Level 99, they have a lot of work to impress the Meeple Man because they're at level 99 and the Meeple Man is up at level 1000. Yeah, but they're like the little engine that could, doing the best they can, pushing beyond their limits. They're like Kate Bush, yeah, running up that hill to get to the Meeple Man, but they're not trying to make a deal with God. No, they're not. They're trying to make goddesses fight. Yeah, the Meeple Man likes a good fight. 2-on-2, tag team style. Ooh, yeah!
Off to you, Dave and Hillary.
Okay, well, that was something. Let me tell you a little bit about this game and give you a little overview of how it plays. So, Sakura Arms is a game for 2 players and takes about 20 minutes to play, at least according to the box. The designer is Buckafire. So we played with the Urena starter deck. Each starter deck has 6 different goddesses in it. They all have their own deck of cards. Each one has 7 normal cards and 4 ultimate cards. So when you start the game, you are going to choose 2 of those goddesses and you are going to make your deck. You can either use the suggested ones that they have in the game or you can make your own. Either way, when you're done, your deck is going to have 7 of the regular cards and 3 ultimates. You can mix and match those with the 2 goddesses you're using however you like. And the idea of this game is that you are fighting on this battlefield, and ultimately you're trying to get your opponent to lose all 10 of their hit points or their life. Now, the way this shows up on the board, actually the way everything shows up on the board, is using these Sakura tokens, which are these little wooden tokens that look like flower petals, and they basically indicate everything on the board. In the center of the board you have the distance that shows the space between you and your opponent, because some of your attack cards are going to have a range on them, so you have to be within the right range to do it. You also have, of course, your life area. You have your flare area, which when you get hurt, your life is going to go up to the flare area. There is an aura area, which you start with 3 tokens in there, but that can sort of act in a way as a shield because most of the attacks can attack either someone's aura or their life. You can kind of pick when you're the one being attacked, but you have to be able to take all the aura damage if that's what you want to take. There's also a shadow area, so certain actions will cause your Sakura tokens to move there, which is sort of like a pool that everyone can use in the game. And thankfully, the way all these tokens move around is indicated on the board for every possible movement. So, for instance, if you are advancing towards your opponent, you might move a Sakura from the distance to your aura. As just one example, pretty much everything you do is going to cause a Sakura to move around the board, and if you cannot move the Sakura that you need to get an action done, then you just can't do that action. So when you start the game, you're going to have 3 cards in your hand. After that, every turn you're going to draw 2 cards. And you can play those cards as often as you want, as long as you're able to do whatever the card says. But there's also other actions. So for instance, you can advance towards your opponent, you can back away, you can focus, which will move Sakura from your aura to your flare area. And that flare area I should talk about now. That's actually really good. It's nice that when you get hurt, your Sakura go there because it's still kind of useful to you. Because those ultimate cards that you pick to make your deck, those are all out on the table. And they all have a cost that you can pay out of your flare. So for instance, a really good one might cost 5 flare. So you need to have quite a few of your Sakura tokens up there in order to use that ability. And once you do, you basically, you can flip it over or turn it sideways, whatever, because you can only use them once unless you have a specific card that says so. As far as the cards in your hand, in addition to attack cards, there's utility cards that'll help you out in some way. Some of the cards are full power cards, in which case if you decide to play one of those down, that is the only action you can take that turn. There are some cards that will let you react to opponent's attack, Basically, they handle all the mechanics of you fighting. Another type of card you might have are the enchantments, which will each have a number of Sakura tokens that you will put on top of them, and those act as sort of a countdown until the effect that's on the enchantment no longer is in place. At the beginning of each player's turn, they're going to remove a Sakura from that to basically count it down. Once there's none on there, you remove them. Worth noting that any time that you would need to draw a card and you can't because your deck is empty, you take damage based on how many cards you can move. So players will go back and forth, exchanging blows, trying to avoid each other, until finally someone has lost all 10 of their health and the remaining person is the winner. And that is a very basic overview of how you play Sakura Arms.
This game definitely has a heavy anime style artwork to it. It's a little bit different than what you typically see for anime artwork though, because it has some very heavy line work to it. That was the design choice though. I'm not sure how I feel about that design choice. Honestly, it's not bad. It's just, it's different enough that it kind of throws me off a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta say when I first saw it, it threw me off too, and I actually didn't really like it. I didn't hate it, but I just didn't really like it either. Like, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, I think this was on Kickstarter or GamePound or one of those, and I just kind of looked at it, I was like, I don't know, that art, meh. And so I ended up buying the retail version, but it's actually grown on me quite a lot, and I think there was someone from Twitter probably that said to me that it was, that choice was to kind of emulate the style of like the Japanese calligraphy, and so I can totally see that now. And now I've actually kind of grown to really like it. I find it's really striking, especially because they tend to not put them against backgrounds that have a lot of stuff going on. You know, it's usually pretty like a washed out background whatever they're on, and so like it really makes them super pop on the page. But it is kind of weird. It is something that it has to grow on you, and you know, maybe it won't ever, possibly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, I'm still not sure if it's grown on me. Like, I like it better since I found out about that, but, like, it's still not quite, the style is still a little off for me, so.
Yeah, I could totally see that. You know, we recently did a review of Kamigami Battles, which is also an anime-themed game that was just sexy time all over the place. And that's not really uncommon in anime things. Your opinion is more important than mine here. How did you feel about the level of sexy or not sexy in this game?
Yeah, so I didn't play all the characters. I played most of them, but I didn't play all of them. There's one that I find to be a little over the top, and that's the fire goddess. There's a couple others that might have a card or two that start to go a little bit over the top, but overall, I think their artwork is a lot more subdued. Yeah. But the fire goddess definitely can be a little bit more over the top.
Yeah, her chest is basically, I mean, she's like bare, but she's got bandages over her chest, but like she's got stuff hanging out from beneath, so that's a little bit. And then there's one gal with the one with the umbrella who's wearing, like, I believe it's a kimono, and there's a couple cards where she's kind of leaning forward, and so it's a little bit cleavagey, but not close to the degree of Kamigami Battles, I'll say that. So I would feel a lot less uncomfortable bringing this out in a crowd, I think. As far as like the components go, I was actually pretty wowed by this package. Like, it's got really nice like character card things in there. The cards themselves are nice. I like that each character has their own individual card box, so you can keep them separated easier. And then I guess if you've got the other starter sets, you can kind of throw them all together and still be able to tell them apart pretty quickly, which is nice. The boards, I like dual layer boards whenever they have them, because it keeps those little Sakura tokens from shifting around all over the place, which could kind of be a pain in the rear.
Yeah, in general, I do like the dual layer boards. I like this for the distance, but I don't like it on the aura track. I know it kind of forms a flower blossom, but it can but like I feel like those are the tokens that we move the most often, and they're so tight in there, it can be really hard to get them out, especially if you have any kind of dexterity problem. I have some issues with my arms and shoulders, so sometimes my ability to move stuff is a little bit harder than other times. So for me, it's a lot easier if I can just slide it, or at least be able to have a bigger area to grab. And because they're so tight in there, it can be hard for me to grab the tokens sometimes.
Yeah, they're just really clustered close together for that. I do like on the boards that it shows pretty much for every action how these things move, because when I was reading the rule book and I was like, oh, if you retreat, then you move it from here to here, and if you advance, you move it. And I was like, I am never going to remember all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be sitting here with the rule book the whole time we're playing, because there's no way. But because it's all, once I had it laid out, I was like, oh, okay, it's all on here, which is fantastic, because that's the part that, at least when you're reading, feels the most complicated. And it shows you everything. It's really easy to pick up on after you've gotten just a little bit into the game, I think. So kudos to them for doing that.
Yeah, and there's even like a turn order cheat on the board too, so you can remember exactly what you need to do every round while you're learning. So that's really helpful. Yeah.
I would have minded like a separate reference card though for like some like we'll talk about it more probably later, but there's some like little kind of nitty-gritty little rules here and there that are easy to forget or just mess up. And it'd be nice to have just even a reminder card that says like, hey, don't forget, blah, 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 blah. Like, that would have been great to have that just right in front of us, because that would have saved us a lot of headaches, I think.
Yeah. One thing to note with the board is that this is a game that really works best if you can play across the table from each other. Because the boards are really kind of designed to be facing you, and so if you have to play sitting side by side, it can make the board a little bit more complicated and harder to read.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you wouldn't think it'd matter that much, but it really kind of does. Yeah. You want to be across from someone for this one. All right, so for theme, in this game, you play as goddesses, kind of going into these, crazy battles. And I definitely see the battle part, but just from like the character designs, most of them, like, I don't necessarily see like they don't seem that much like goddesses to me. They seem just like fairly like typical like anime looking characters that could be like from the high school or just from like whatever, or like from a fighting game. It's not too much of a stretch of imagination to go that way, but with a couple of exceptions, and mainly from just like what's going on their cards, like they just don't look like there's like a lot of like supernatural stuff going on. I guess some of their abilities maybe.
Yeah, the abilities play a little bit more into it. If some of the cards didn't say goddesses on them, I wouldn't associate them with goddesses. And then same kind of with the board, like I really like the board. It's a very pretty board, and it, like the way, and I think they did a good job of like trying to kind of flow the distance and the aura and the life, and like it's all very pretty, but it's kind of disconnected from the theme to me, unless there's like a backstory that I'm not aware of. But just looking at the cards and playing the game, like it's a little bit of a disconnect to me.
Yeah, I don't know if this is in any way based on any real mythology. Not that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong. But like, I don't know. Like, why is my aura moving to flare, and what's the shadow? Like, I don't really know. And even if they explained it, I'd probably be like, this is a lot of woo-woo weirdness that I'm never going to talk about, honestly. Like, I'm not trying to be like lame. It's just that if you start saying that to players you're playing with, they're going to be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? So, I mean, it's fine. I'm not bothered by how the theme is in this game. No. It's just that there's some stuff I'm like, I don't know if I really feel that, but it's still a cool fight, so that works out.
So in general, I really enjoy this game. I think it's a fun fighting game. I think it's interesting building your deck off of two different characters that can play very different from each other. You can go off the suggested cards, or you can build your own deck. Which one do you prefer?
That's a tough question. I don't want to call them pre-made decks, that's not quite right, but like the suggested cards you can mix. Mm-hmm. I think if you do those, you'll probably have a pretty good balance. But I think, and you can play it that way, and I think you'd be perfectly happy with it. I think part of this game that you'd be missing, though, is building those decks. And also, you're missing out entirely on enchantment cards. I don't think any of the suggested ones have the enchantment cards in it. But, if you really want to have more variety in this game and kind of unlock more strategies for yourself, you might want to build this, or even just, take, the suggested cards and maybe, okay, I'm not going to use this card this time. I'll swap it for this other one, just to give it a little bit of a different feel, because I think even swapping one card sometimes can probably make a big difference.
Yeah, and there's definitely was some cards when we're doing the suggested decks where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to use this card, or I might use this card, but the likelihood that I'm going to use it is it has to be just such the right situation for me to use this card. I don't know how often I'm going to use it, so I can definitely see. Starting off with a suggestion and then swapping them out. I think, especially if you're teaching someone, definitely do the suggested deck while you're learning. And just because it makes the game a lot more balanced. When you're building your own decks, I think it can lead to really unbalanced teams. I think that also kind of goes to this game where on the outside looking in, it looks like a very simple game. The life track is pretty easy. The distance is easy. Look at the board, it looks really easy. You're not dealing with a huge deck. It's only, 7 basic cards and 3 ultimate cards that you're actually playing with. But there's so much depth into the game and a lot of different special rules that are not typical. And so I almost go back and forth on whether or not this is an easy game to learn, because there are so many. I think if you're playing with someone that's not used to deck building games, it actually might be easier for them because they don't have a lot of those, this is how a typical deck game works in their head. And so some of the rules that are different in this game might not be so hard for them to pick up on. If you're someone that plays a lot of deck games, I think some of the rules are going to be really easy to forget.
Yeah, the one that we were messing up for a while, and it didn't, I don't know if it really mattered with the suggested decks as much, but that you discard, face up in some circumstances and face down in others, which I think depending on the cards you have, will or won't make a difference.
Yeah.
But, weird little things like that I at least don't think I've seen in another game before, not that I recall.
Yeah.
And there are reasons for it. It just seems odd. So it takes a little bit to get used to that kind of thing. Having to take damage when you have to reshuffle your cards. That's kind of different. It does put a nice timer on the game. You will get whittled down eventually. You can't make this game last 5 hours or something like that, which is good. I'm actually glad that that's there, because it also makes some tough choices for you. You might be able to do this and that'll let you draw a card, but then you're closer to needing to reshuffle. So is that what you want to do? Is that smart? It's just a lot of tough choices in this game, I think, that you have to make. And man, that's tough.
Yeah.
As I think I mentioned, when you do the suggested cards, I don't think any of those are enchantments, at least not that we came across, unless we just picked the wrong list. I don't know. What did you think about those enchantment cards when we added them in? Did you think they were a good addition, or did you not like them, or what did you think about those?
So when we added them in, I only used one enchantment card, and it's a little bit of a weird one because it was one that had some extra rules on top of being a new card that we haven't played with before. And so they can be powerful cards, but the card that I had was powerful, but it was kind of easy for it to not go off.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, while you have it out, it's another card that's not in your deck, so you're gonna go through your deck faster.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the possibilities they open up for you. I think I had one that was probably not useful because I don't think you had cards that did the thing that it was trying to stop.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, is what it is. But yeah, I kind of like having this. So it's kind of a bummer that the suggested cards don't seem to have them in there, because I think that's a neat feature in the game, and it's not so complicated. I don't think that someone trying those as their initial decks couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
I think if you figure out the rest of it, the enchantments aren't that hard. So I thought it was kind of weird that they didn't seem to have them, but I really liked adding them in. So one thing that's probably worth noting is there's actually 3 starter sets for this one. This is the Urena box, which is just one of the characters. I think they're all probably named after a character in there. And I picked this one because these characters were described as being the most straightforward. One of them says it is the more advanced characters, and one says unique, so I don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
But I guess I can't really talk about those two because I don't know them, but like I can't imagine learning this game off of like how those others are described.
Yeah, it's like if this is the basic starter, I would be intimidated by the other ones. And I don't think I would want to learn the game with the other two starters.
Yeah, because some of these do feel fairly straightforward, but there's a couple that have, like, the gal with the umbrella, like, her cards will do different things based on whether her umbrella is open or closed, which you can choose to do at the end of a return, and that adds a whole other level. It's easy to be like, oh man, I should have opened my umbrella, or whatever, like, and maybe that's just me not thinking ahead far enough, I don't know, and there's another one who has this, like, weird, like, these, like, divine and fiend tokens or something like that depending on what spot those are in on the special board she has, her cards do something different. And it doesn't sound like a lot maybe, but it does add a bit of complexity to them. And I can only imagine that these other characters in the other boxes have more going on like that. I would say, start with this one.
Yeah.
I think I definitely start with this one.
Each of the characters also has like a special ability that it can be triggered by something, and so like just learning those special abilities and keeping in mind when those abilities go off, because they don't all go off for the same reason. So I think that is already a game that's pretty in depth. So having like characters that are even harder to learn with, I think would be a challenge. Yeah, like with what we have, I'm happy to mix any of these characters, but I'm a long way from where I would mix the Umbrella Gal with like the Divinity Fiend token together. And maybe they're a great team. I don't know, but like I'm not gonna do that anytime soon. I have to get a lot better at this game before I would try that, because it hurts my brain even when I just think about it. It's rough. Okay, so for final scores, I know we kind of, a lot of times will be like, oh, I was going back and forth, I wasn't sure what to give this.
We're very decisive.
I think a lot of times we are going through numbers in our heads, and then, like, at the very last minute, we're like, okay, this is the number we're going with. The first few times that we played this game, I really enjoyed this game a lot, and I was really leaning towards giving this game a 7 or an 8. This last time that we played, we built our own decks, but then on top of that, we also discovered that there was quite a few rules that we were kind of playing wrong or didn't know about or whatever. And so this last game, like, it dropped my opinion of the game, honestly. And I think the reason why it dropped is like, this is already a game where like the rules are a little complicated for me, and we've definitely played some heavier games, but I think because this game has so many rules that are they're very similar to other deck games, but they just do these small tweaks. So like I feel like I'm just constantly going, wait, what does this do? Like there's just so many small little differences in this game that I feel like this isn't a game that we can like put away for 6 months and then come back and easily play it again. I think this is a game where we pretty much have to relearn it every time we pull it out when we put it away for a while. And because of our lives, because we have kids and jobs and this channel, we don't get to replay games a whole lot. And so a lot of times, if we do replay a game, it's been 6 months, a year, 2 years in between playing games. And so the fact that we don't have a lot of time to devote to this game and all the small little rules and stuff and the complexity of this game, I'm going to give this game a 6. I do enjoy playing it, but I think for us, it's a game that's going to be hard for us to play and like be able to really enjoy it, because I think where this game is going to really shine is when you can really focus and dedicate time to this game. Yeah.
I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the components, like I wish there was like a reference card that's like, here's some stuff to remember. Because I feel like other than those weird little like bizarre kind of rule tweaks they have, like the board really helps a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if you at least use the suggested like mixed decks, that's pretty easy to put together and do. Like, do you think having just like a reminder card, like, hey, you know, cards are discarded face up when this happens and face down when this happens, and that kind of, do you think that would be helpful to bringing it out? Because I feel like
I think it'd be
the
helpful.
other basics are not that bad.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't think I could like wait 6 months, pull it out, and immediately make a deck that was useful in any way.
Yeah.
Without just blind luck, which I mean, maybe I'd have it, I don't know. But yeah, there's enough, I feel like enough like strategy that has to go into like just making your deck that if you've forgotten how things work, that's going to be tough to do. Like we would definitely have to go back to using the suggested combined decks, which is fine. But I do think this is a game that benefits from having a lot of plays and doing them fairly frequently. Like if you're dedicated to playing this game, you know, at least every few weeks for a while, you know, maybe multiple times, awesome, because you can keep tweaking your decks and like, you know, figure out how you want things to work out. And I think you could find a ton of strategy that neither one of us are good enough to like quite put together yet.
Yeah.
But I think it might take that, unless you just have one of those brains, like you're really used to certain kinds of card games and looking for certain kinds of combos. I know some people can just do that, but if you aren't that person, it's going to be tough. Like when we played our most recent game where we made our decks, like I had, one of my characters was like really attacky, but only at long range. And the other character had some attack stuff, but not super great when you got in close. And at first I thought I was going to destroy you, but I absolutely did not, because once you close the distance, I didn't have a lot of ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
But when I was putting stuff away, I looked at the cards I didn't pick, and one of them lets you put space between you and the other person. I'm like, dang, man. Like, if I would I don't know if it would have saved me, but like it would have like at
It would have
least
made a big difference.
it would at least given me the chance to like push you away so I can maybe get some of my attacks off, where I couldn't after a point. It was too hard. Like I couldn't get enough of my Sakura in the right spots to put the distance between us. So there's a lot to consider, is what I'm trying to say, when you're building a deck. And it's really easy when you don't know it super, super well to overlook some things that would really probably help you out.
Yeah.
That being said, us making our own decks like really opened my eyes to how much strategy is in this game. And I think that's, you know, it's kind of complicated, and, you know, I'm not the best at this. I'm not going to pretend I am. I think it's very cool that is there, that it exists for people who enjoy that sort of thing. And I'm glad that they put it in there where you can just say, okay, well, I'm going to take these cards from this character and these cards from this character and put those together. I'm glad that's there too for people who don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm like the opposite of you. When I first played this game, I thought it was pretty good. You know, I wasn't like enthralled with it, but I thought it was all right. But as we played more, and especially when we start making our own decks, again, even though I suck at it, it just kind of made me think like, oh my gosh, like there is so much here that you could delve into if you have the time to do so. I really like it. I don't know if I'll have the time to do it, but I can't like fault the game for that in this case, I don't think, because I would be happy to dig into this, time permitting. Like I really would. So I'm going to give this game an 8. I think if you like, you know, 2-player games that are, you know, real head-to-head battlers, if you like the idea that it kind of mimics a 2D fighting game, even though it doesn't like specifically say that, I think this is a great choice for you. Again, though, you gotta like some games where it's got a lot of depth, and if you put your deck together wrong, you're not gonna do great. You're just not, which is fine, and you know, you'll know if that's your kind of thing or not.
Yeah,
I think so. Anyway, a 6 and an 8, not too bad. Hopefully, between the things we said, you have an idea of whether or not this game's for you, whether you lean more towards my thinking or hers, or neither of ours even. Who knows? But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, look forward to see you all around the table again at All Games New and Old. Bye.
Hi everyone, we now have a merch store, so help out the channel and check it out.
Yeah, all these games and the equipment and everything we do and costumes cost a lot of money. So anything you can do to help us out if you love our content would be really appreciated. We have t-shirts in tons of different colors and styles.
We have sweatshirts in a few different styles.
We have lots of you can drink out of, like coffee mugs, pint glasses.
We also have coffee tumblers and water balls and a few other things.
Right. So,
The following announcement has been paid for by AGNO.
hey y'all, check it out. Brand new shirt. It's not just black, it's black and white. Get one today. You can get it with or without, for everyone on the back. You want something to drink? Is it Thirsty Thursday? That's what that means, right? We got something for your morning. Check that out. We got something for your day. And you know, we got something for your night. Get your drink on with that. Get a little cold outside? Check out this premium hoodie. Damn, that looks good. You want to look good? You need this hoodie. What's that? You want a little color? Don't worry. AGNO has got you covered. You don't like purple and red? Don't worry. There's plenty more. Just check the store. All these clothes, not too big, not too small, just too sweet. Don't forget, all games new and old is for everyone.
The preceding announcement was paid for by AGNO.
So yeah, that's how you can get pretty much any Kickstarter at the all-in pledge level for free. So when you saved all that money, make sure you go to our merch store, spend some of that saved money to help us out. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye. You know, it's not too much of a stretch of imagine. With a couple of sections, God damn it. You know, we just played a. So when it starts at, or this seems goofy. I feel like I'm really short. If you enjoyed that video, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
If you like any of our videos, what you should do is click this little button to subscribe so you'll know about the next time we put out a video.
We'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.